Welcome to Puck Talk CS. I'm your host, Matthew Mugno, alongside Steve Murno, here to talk all things New York Rangers, as always, on this wonderful Monday night ahead of Christmas, ahead of New Year's, and it's been much of the same for the New York Rangers. Steve-O, how have you been, my man, on break for you
Doing
from
great,
school?
brother. This is best time of the year. A lot of joy this time of the year. Unfortunately, not a lot of joy when it comes to the Rangers as of right now, but I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. This is like rest time. No, I haven't had a broadcast now. This is the second week, and I go back on the 9th. So we got some women's hockey up in Troy, and then the men's team comes back from being away the weekend before. But it's kind of nice, Steve. This year, like, we don't have a game right after New Year's. Last year, I was up there in a snowstorm on the 3rd. So I get an extra week, dude.
Yeah, use it to retool. Like we all need that, especially the Rangers as of right now. So let's get into it. Let's talk some puck. And man, we got a lot to digest. I'm just gonna leave it open, and you could steer the ship where we want to start, Captain.
All right. I'm starting big picture, and then let's talk about these two games. The New York Rangers, their goaltending's good enough. I don't want to hear the conversation. No, Igor's not at his premium. He's not at his prime for a goaltender that asked for 11 and a half. But they paid him. He's the backbone, and he's been good enough. Jonathan Quick has been exceptional as a backup. The defense is good enough. The offense is not. There's just no scoring. And that's obvious. You know, at this point, how many shutouts is it? 7 or 8?
Seven.
But Steve, I know you definitely I want to hear your thoughts on that Flyers and Nashville game. So before we jump in, I just want to state when we talk about middle of the road, the New York Rangers record in October, 5-5-2. November, 8-7-0. December so far, 5-4-2. They played in 6 overtime games in December. So that's 6 1-goal games. Steve-O, let's pick up with that Flyers game, which actually was a pretty exciting game at the Garden on Saturday.
It was another stat I want to throw in there really quick. This was the 14th time the Predators game, the 14th time this season where we scored 1 or 0 goals this season, and that is not good. But we'll go into the Flyers game. Um,
Yeah. That was a
man,
fun one.
this was a fun one. This was
Yeah.
not a lot of multi-goal comebacks this year. You know, you look at the Canadiens
Mhm.
game, you throw in this game. This game just showed us that we have that fight. You know, this team has fight. You look at the Blues game before that, and the come from behind win game in overtime. JT, you thought that we could use that game as a building block to build momentum in this game, and that coming out and starting this Flyers game, it didn't seem like that was the case. We were very slow to start that game. Um, it was very contested. Then Panarin comes out, Rangers take a 1-0 lead, and then the Flyers really just open it up. I mean, they just pile it on, you know, with the power play goals, with a shorthanded goal, and then really you just start to feel like it's the same game that we've been playing all year long at home, as well as a lot of the games that we played last year, where there's just no effort. And then before you know it, Panarin tabs another one. Vinny T steps up, and then Scott Morrow sets up Mika on the power play to tie the game. And the Rangers
That
got a
was
little
vintage
fight.
Mika too, right, Steve? Like
Yeah,
I think that's what you want to see from Zibanejad. At this point, I don't know if anyone really cares if it's 60 or 80 points. Do you just want to see him put home a puck like that, like we're used to seeing?
yeah, and you got to give credit to Morrow on that setting up Mika because that's his shot. The Rangers have to do what they are good at, you know. And you look at the last few years. I've said this a thousand times. We've echoed this point, I think, more than I've heard anybody on the radio when it comes to the Rangers. But the last few years, we've been good at having a strong in front net presence. And that element this year is totally lacking. You know, we don't have somebody screening the goalie, we don't have chaos up front. Not only when you put a guy up front in front of the goalie, you also going to have more rebound chances. You're going to get second, third opportunities. This year, we're not getting any second or third opportunities. It's very one, one shot attempt. Like we're not getting any rebounds, second, third. Like a lot of these teams, and these are bad teams too. Like the Blues, the Canucks, the Flyers. A lot of these teams have been getting like really good second, third shooting opportunities against us. And that's something that I want to see us do more. So listen, if we're not going to have somebody in front of the net, we got to play to our strengths. And what's our strengths? Mika with the one-timer and the shot in that corner. And that's what Morrow set up there. And I think we just need to see Mika take that shot more. I mean, he's been these last few seasons, he's been so hesitant to pass the puck and make something and happen. And just when you hold on to the puck, you pass up on an opportunity, shoot the puck. He's got to do more of that.
Yeah, we had a few years back now, Greg Wyshynski on the show, and it branched off of a conversation I had with him at the Garden. This is going back at the start of the Laviolette first year, 23-24. Puck moves faster than man. You know, we talked about on our show with him that like he thought that the Rangers did a really good job of addressing that they don't have necessarily a lot of speed in their genetic makeup with the roster build. And I think something that some fans are upset about right now is puck movement, is speed. I still don't think this team naturally has speed, but we saw the same players or some of the core players on this team, part of the President's Trophy winning team, they don't skate, Steve. They don't round to the top of the circle and leave a puck off for a defenseman and then move it another way while someone else is in motion to set a screen. We're not seeing a lot of layers. And I like what you said about one and done. Spalaket's hammered home about odd man rushes. That's a one and done opportunity. Now, a very high quality one, nonetheless. But we're not seeing the Rangers generate rebounds. You check with your feet. You forecheck with your feet. And I think another flaw that I think was evident in this Flyers game was your superstar forward was the difference maker. And I do want to talk about the positives, but before we get there with this Flyers game, Steve, you made a great point to me in the St. Louis game. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Oh man, I feel like now I gotta like give you the alley oop, but I'll
give me the alley oop. I'll finish it.
All right, Steve, you told me against the St. Louis Blues with Artemi Panarin out of the lineup, this is what the New York Rangers are going to look like without Artemi Panarin. And I thought that was a great and valid point. Whether you agree with expediting a rebuild using a player like Panarin as a trade piece, or you believe that the Rangers should sign him and retain him for that reason, the Flyers game was a game where you say, boy, if they don't have Artemi Panarin, they don't win that game at all. They'll probably lose 4-1.
Yeah. There's a lot of those games this year too. I think you go back to that Canadiens game, you look to all these games and say, you take out Panarin, he's the X factor in a lot of these games. Not to mention he got us on the board, scored the first goal, he scored the second goal, he had the shootout, he had one of the shootout goals to win it. That was a nasty move. Oh my goodness.
Nasty move.
But if you take him out, you're going to see games like you did against the Blues where we only scored 2 goals that game, and one of them was the OT winner. But not to mention, before we scored, that first period in that game was dry as hell. There was no offense at all. It was a whole lot of nothing. Now, yeah, the Blues stink too. They're not that good.
I just want to add something, Steve-O, to that. By the way, I dug this up. They have 28 goals for in period 1 this year. That's 25th in the NHL. So you always talk about slow starts on here. I just wanted to add that spice on top, that adobo to the chicken.
Yeah, there we go. Cherry on top. And how about out of how many of those goals, I'd love to know, has Panarin scored? He's got a good number of them. He scored the other one the other day against the Flyers. So, but if you take Panarin out of the lineup, and this is just a bigger theme conversation, that just to bring to your attention that if you take Panarin out, you're going to get games like the St. Louis Blues the other night where the offense was very dry, and you take Panarin out. Who is going to step up? I haven't really identified, a player on this team, that's going to step up and fill that void. We really don't have any players. Will Cooley might be one of them, I feel like, but still, after the season he had last year, it's just a tall task. He's more of a strong supplemental piece on this team. I'll give you JT Miller. JT Miller might be the only one that I trust as a player to step up if you subtract Panarin off this roster. But it's just, a lot of these pieces. Mika, to me, he's supplemental. He needs somebody, to play well with. We've seen this all these years with him and Kreider. And that's why when you take Kreider out, he had a garbage, awful year. And he's having trouble playing with anybody else for some reason. So that's
awful year. Garbage, awful.
That sums it up. That sounds
You know
about.
what, Steve? You know what, too? Like, I just don't think Mika Zibanejad at this point in his career, at his age, like, I don't think he's putting up 91 points. Or Artemi Panarin
I
is.
I agree with you. I agree
He's
with you,
on
and I
pace per game right now. Panarin's on pace for 80 points.
he is, and he's gonna hit that 100%. I think there's no doubt of
Yeah.
that. I just if you moving on from him, it's just are you ready to have him not on this team? I mean, he is the goals, the points, the assist leader every single year on this team. I mean, he you really can't take the only other player you could take off this team that would be a major loss is Igor. You know what Panarin brings to this team. So, like, are us Ranger fans? We suffered enough. Are we ready to watch a bad hockey without Panarin? And a lot of people are calling for us not to resign Panarin, even trade Panarin. I listen. You know my take on this. Like I want Panarin to remain on this team. You know, just that competitive aspect. I mean, again, without him, we are so uncompetitive, and even with him, we are so uncompetitive. Being going 14 games with 1 or 0 goals. So that's my take on this. I'd love to know where you stand now after I pitched that to you.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. The fan base is kind of, I feel like that's a conversation that's been rising to sea level. And Steve, I look at the Quinn Hughes trade and I wonder if expediting a small rebuild using a player like Panarin will benefit the Rangers. The Canucks are 4-0 without Quinn Hughes, and Zeev Buium is a player that has a high ceiling and is already showing that in stride. He's won at every level. There's no reason you can't think Zeev Buium could be a top 10 defenseman at some point in his career. Now, the reason I say that is because of what you just said. I think there is a side to the argument that says, well, if 34-year-old Artemi Panarin, who's on an 80-point pace, isn't helping this team win, why not use a player like that who's on an 80-point pace to acquire players that can quickly get back into a competitive window? And I've bought in a little bit to that thinking, Steve. I bought into it a little bit, but that's for right now. And there's obviously a lot that goes into that, like Panarin's value, Trocheck's value, Quick's value, identifying the players you can trade. There were rumors that they didn't want to part with Lafreniere and Schneider. I don't think it was for the value of the players in the Quinn Hughes deal. I think it's because if you now have Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox and you're not competing with Igor, Adam Fox, and Quinn Hughes, where are you going with these players? And on top of that, you're kind of gutting the roster too. So I think Lafreniere is a player. I'm sure we'll get to him, especially with that Nashville game. But simply talking Panarin, I see both sides, and right now I'm not extreme. I'm not polar on this conversation at the moment, but I'm entertaining both, and I like that you asked because I personally think maybe expediting a trade process like we saw with the Canucks could actually launch you into a competitive year next year already. But Steve, I mean, we look at the timeline here, my man, where I have it written down. The New York Rangers, this is the 40 game mark. So we're halfway through, and we're going to get to that Nashville game, momentarily, folks. But 18, 16, and 4, you're middle of the road. Their numbers are middle of the road, all in the 18 to 20s range of statistics for team stats. The trade deadline is March 6th, which is in 23 games. The Olympics is February 6th to 22nd. So it starts in 19 more NHL games for the Rangers, and they have 6 more back-to-backs. They have a losing record in back-to-backs and have lost every single second night of the back-to-back. So that was a mouthful, I know, and I hope you can kind of at least take pieces of that. I'm just trying to illustrate that at this point, do you, Steve, feel like the Rangers have more of the Flyers game in them or more of that St. Louis game in them? Because I think that determines where the team should go with where Drury should go with trading and asset management.
Yeah, great question. I love that point, and I really think a lot of it is going to fall on these next 2 weeks. I mean, these next 2 weeks, we're playing all teams in the Metro. I mean, the outcome of these 2 weeks is going to heavily influence our record and our standings when we come to the trade deadline. We got games against the Islanders, we got 2 against the Capitals, Hurricanes. I mean, these are big games that you have to take. not only, is it the fact that we're playing these opponents, we also have played more games than a lot of these teams, and that is what worries me. In hockey, I hate for some reason, quite literally, we love playing behind because we get off the slow starts, but we also love playing from behind in the standings, and that you don't want to play from behind in the standings, and that's what worries me. But again, like we said the other night, you win 2 games in a row, you're back up there in the standings. It's such a
Yeah.
weird year. Um, I don't see a world where we trade Panarin. I get that. I don't think we're going to trade him. I think we're going to trade other assets over Panarin, and I think you're going to see. I'm willing to call it right now. I think we're not going to trade Panarin. Other assets you might see go, and we can get into the wits of who that might be. But I think a lot of it is going to depend on these next 2 weeks. Because again, if we take 4 out of 6 against these Metro teams, we're right back in there. So it really all depends. My problem is with no JT and Adam Fox. I mean, we are struggling, and not to mention throwing the fact back to back. I mean, this back to back shit is ridiculous. The schedule, on a side note, and I know you agree with me. This schedule is ridiculous. I mean, the back to backs are so unnecessary. We could pull up a
Yeah.
calendar and put it on the screen of how many back to backs had, and then we don't play until Wednesday or Thursday. It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. And if you look at what we've had, how many the amount of back to backs we've had in the last 3 weeks alone, I think anybody would be tired. Any team in the NHL would be tired, and it showed last night in the Nashville game. So
Okay.
that's my whip
We're
with the
jumping
schedule.
in.
Let's jump right in.
All right,
Let's jump
Steve.
right.
Actually, I want to say too, it's funny because I was looking through some stuff today. My problem with the Rangers schedule this year is that every team is actually experiencing what the Rangers are. The Rangers played their 7th back-to-back, and I looked at Anaheim's schedule. It was very similar, right? They're playing games in bunches. They're playing back-to-backs every other week. So I don't think the Rangers are unique in that sense. What I'm struggling to understand is, where is the stopgap? The Rangers have outpaced every team in the NHL in games played since October. Like, I'm trying to figure out where, even if it's a day here or there, where is the extra day for the other teams to be catching up? Like, I think at this point, this is a simple process to actually really look through the schedule, but I think I'm curious where the stopgap is, and if someone can identify that for me, a listener, someone in our comment section, because looking ahead at the schedule, it looks like the Rangers are still on pace, like every other team, to keep chugging along with this, Olympic break conscious schedule. And I'm just trying to figure out where the 3 extra rest days are for the Rangers. They have 3 extra games on every other team in the NHL. And you know what? Steve Alekette said it great last night. The mind of an athlete is about performance. It's about the X's, O's, vibes, and recovery. And the New York Rangers, it seems like when you're 0-6-1 on the second half of a back-to-back, including last night's game in Nashville, they came out flat again. Steve, I want to hear your thoughts, because I feel like now it's a broken record of these types of games, like the one that we watched together with in St. Louis. So what were your thoughts on that Nashville game?
Yeah. So first of all, right off the bat, look, I want to lay this to rest. I've heard a few people online say this, but I mean, the goaltending has been the best part of our season. I mean, we would be in dead last if it wasn't for Igor and Quick. I mean, I think Quick has saved our season at some in a certain way up to this point. I mean, he has made amazing, great saves in all the games that he's played in. And I think between him and Igor, they have been so reliable. Quick had another amazing game last night, but we laid it to let it go to waste. We had 3 power plays, and on those 3 power plays, we only had 1 shot. I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, 3 power plays, 1 shot is just not good enough. And you look at, you could chalk it up to back to back or whatever, but I mean, you look at it. You're playing the Nashville Predators, a team that is down in the standings. They're not another good team. And you had Panarin had 1 shot, Loff had 1 shot, and then Mika and Trocheck both had no shots on goal. I mean, that is like our core right there, and all together, and out of those 4 players, you only have 2 shots on goal. I mean, where is the offense supposed to come at that point? I mean, it's just not going to work out, So before I move on, I'll let you jump in there.
Steve-O's driving the bus today. I love it. I love it, Steve. Um, quick, I dug this up too. 30 plus shots against in 4 games this season. He lost 3 of them and had a 968, a 970, a 912, and a 952 save percentage in those games. Like, he is playing out of his mind for the Rangers. As backup, he's not getting consistent starts. We've seen Igor take a lion's share. He had that stretch of 7 starts around Thanksgiving and the week after. Like, Quick to step up like this has been incredible. I agree with you on that. Team defense, like I said at the start of the show, they've been good enough. Their numbers are good enough. The scoring, 8 goals in the last 5 games, 14 against. Now, that might not, supplement what I just said about the defense, but you should be scoring more than 8 goals in 5 games. And a lot of those were 1-goal games, 6 total 1-goal games in this month alone. But Steve, the Nashville game to me was an example of not outskating a team. Nashville, they would hop over the boards. The Stamkos line is in, they're in the zone. Then you'd have another line come over the boards. Maybe, Ryan O'Reilly's line comes over now. They have sustained pressure. The puck may have come out of the zone, but it's quickly back in. There's waves, there's speed, there's layers, and the Rangers are lacking all of that. Like I said, there was a time where we would watch this team and they were a rush-driven team, but they would find the back of the net. And if it wasn't off the rush, they were maintaining pressure. There were shifts. Steve, the feeling of when you're at MSG and everyone's on their feet because you're anticipating a goal. They've had 2 minutes of zone time. They didn't get any of that at all. The Predators outshot them as a result. And that's where the conversation of, athletic recovery comes in, but it's also mentality. Because teams can fly high right now. The Sabres have dug themselves out of a hole a little bit. The Islanders have kind of been driven by an 18-year-old defenseman. They're pretty much the same team around him, and they're finding the back of the net because their energy's up. They check with their feet. Sometimes, Steve, it's just in hockey, it's just about doing the right thing to be in the offensive zone. It's not about the pressure of scoring. And I feel like when you're looking at the process, we're looking at the result, which is justified, and the production line. But at the end of the day, this team just doesn't spend enough time in the attacking end. And part of that too is on the defensive side. You brought in so many defensive defensemen. Who's making the first pass? Who's your puck carrier? And at times, Vince just wrote a great article with Shayna Goldman about their zone entries. It seems like they're confused at times. Do we dump it? Do we do that chuck and chase? Do we carry it? They have to keep it a little more simple, Steve, because I thought the Nashville game, those were my takeaways from that game. Like, it really painted the picture of like goaltending's good enough, defense is solid enough. The offense just outside of scoring just doesn't look good as a product overall.
Yeah, I love that point you made on the zone entries, because that is so true when you look at it up and down this lineup. Each lineup, it looks confused. Some want to dump and chase. Some lines just can't even get the puck across the line. That's a problem. And then even, aside from, I'm okay with not getting, quality scoring time. It's just we're not making, out of the time we're getting in the offensive zone, we're not making the best out of it in terms of even on the power play. I mean, 3 power plays, 1 shot. That's ridiculous. That's a huge problem. And that was like a staple, such a staple of New York Rangers hockey was the power play. I mean, we used to go back 2 years ago when we were one of the best power plays in the league. It was almost automatic at a certain point. And now it's an automatic 0 shots. 0 shots and 50 seconds of passing around before the puck gets cleared. And that's a huge problem. Another
Steve,
point. Go.
sorry, my man. I
No,
was
go,
going to
go.
say, I think what's perplexing too is we have to recognize, I was telling Mike this just now. Mika Zibanejad scores that goal at MSG and it ties the game. It's from his spot. And then the next day, they generate one shot on goal on the power play. Like, when is there going to be a carryover? Steve Alkett said it in the post game against St. Louis. Like, this team has to win games, like more than one game in a row. And that's the end result. But these are the things that contribute to that. The carryover. Mika Zibanejad has that goal, huge goal. You saw the way the team celebrated. They were real into it. And the next day, it was like he wasn't even out there on the power play.
Yeah, I think you could chalk up to just the fact of it being a back-to-back. When you come off such a strong win and a good performance like that, you want to like let it festate and you have a day off, practice, come back refreshed. That's not the case. We weren't even, it wasn't, this is not even a home back-to-back. We got to go right on a plane, go all the way down on the road. I mean, that's what sucks about the schedule, but still, it doesn't matter. I'm not an excuse guy, and I'm not giving excuses because 0-6-1 on back-to-back is unacceptable. Like, that is not good. Another scary point on that note is that these are not good teams. These are not good teams. You look at, what was it, Calgary earlier in the year, Vancouver. These are not good teams. These are bottom of the barrel, as low as you could get in the standings teams, and they're coming out and they're like dominating us. We look totally outperformed. Matter of fact, we've looked better. The games that we've looked really good at were actually good teams. That Carolina game, like, we play better against better teams. I don't know why, but it's just weird. These are bad teams that we've played, and this was the part of the schedule that you looked at and you said, you know what, maybe you get a little break here. You play Nashville. You play Vancouver, you get Anaheim. Anaheim's different, but I still think that was a very winnable game. This Nashville game, this very easily should have been a game where the Rangers at least walked away with 1 point, maybe two. But they should have gotten 1 point out of this game, and that wasn't the case. Quick played great, and you think in most of these games, last night as an example with Quick, where he's playing his ass off, he's making great saves. You think maybe that confidence, like that element, would get this team going. And that goes for the whole entire year. Like Igor, like some of these games, Igor's put on a masterclass and we still find a way to lose 1-0, or 2-1. Like, that confidence of Igor playing well in the locker room, I'm not seeing that translate to anyone else on the team and coming out. We just come out of the periods and we look so stale. We look slow. We look dry. We look confused. We look like we don't even want to play. And this is every single game. Like, even the Anaheim game, when we was going into the third period tied, we came out and we looked totally confused. Like, we looked like we did not want to play hockey in that third period to come out. And it's just in a game that was played so tightly contested. I mean, we look like we don't want to play on the ice. And I have a guy that like is killing me. I'm dying to talk to him, but before we bring up specific players, I'll let you jump in.
Inspiration's really important, Steve. And Mike Sullivan has been behind a bench for Team USA, a game in the Bell Center this year in February. That was probably the most talked about sporting event, second probably to the World Series this year. This is a man that can inspire. This is a man that has done it with the Pittsburgh Penguins twice. Now, most fans right now might be angry and this might fall upon deaf ears. But like you said, when you have a player like Quick, almost 40 years old, performing at this level, 10 plus goals saved, like 10 plus sure goals for league average goaltenders he saved. It's sad to see that it doesn't get the bench excited. It doesn't drag the team in. For everything that's been said about JT Miller, I feel the same way too. Like, he does really talk well with the media. I'm sure you always see Miller talking on the ice. He's a guy that when they brought him in, he drags you into the fight. He might not be an 100-point scorer anymore, let alone an 80-point scorer, but that's a guy that would, should inspire you. So I love that point. This team has lost 4 games to the 32nd ranked NHL team this year. 3 months, 4 teams in last place this year. And I know who you want to talk about because this player, he was my X factor at the start of the year. So, Steve-O, let's crack open the can, and you and I haven't had a sip of the Alexis Lafreniere's frustrating us soda in a long time. So let's go for it.
How did you know it was him? Oh my goodness. No, Laf, I have a huge problem with. He's been undoubtedly the worst player on the team this year. I mean, just simple things like the other night when we called timeout against the Flyers. I mean, our team was huddled up in conversation listening to Sullivan, and he was not even listening. Like he was just sitting up twiddling his thumbs on the bench. And you see it in his play on the ice. That Canadiens game, very sloppy on the ice. He was responsible for one of those goals on a sloppy giveaway. They kept the puck in our zone that they scored off a deflection. I mean, his underlying stats, if you don't watch New York Rangers hockey every single night, they might look good on paper, but he is not good. He's far from good in my book. I mean, he is not putting enough points on the score sheet. I mean, he's has 1 assist in like his last 6 games. He's got a -5 or a -4 in his past 6 games as well. I mean, it is not good. It is not enough production for a top 6 forward, especially one that was taken as high as he was in the draft with the first pick. I mean, it's just unacceptable. I mean, you live and you die. He's just lazy. He is very lazy, and for me, it's not cutting. I'm tired of watching him on this team, and I have seen nothing that is going to lead to an improvement. I mean, he's just so disengaged with the puck. Bad decisions. He's the Glaber Torres of hockey. That is like the ultimate comparison. I love Glaber Torres. Offensively, he was great. Just defensively, and that lack of effort and laziness. I mean, I see that directly copied and pasted in Lafreniere. And quite frankly, he's not been good this year. I mean, a lot of people are not talking about this more, but he really has laid a dud this year on this team. So I'll leave it up to you. Laf, I've had it with him, man. I mean, this is a huge problem.
Do you want to know if I agree with you or not?
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah. He is the most disappointing player on this team this year because of the players you've expected to have an impact. It feels that he hasn't had one at all. JT Miller, for example, is on pace for 60 points, but you feel at times his presence, his physical drive, can get the team into a better position in what's been a pretty, let's be real, boring season. Mika Zibanejad looks like he might be back to the player he was at his age. So maybe not an 80-point scorer or 90-point scorer or 5 goals in a game scorer, but it feels like, okay, this Mika Zibanejad's more engaged. He's been spicy at times in the post-game interviews. Like, it seems like he cares this year. Very different than we saw last year. Now I could go up and down kind of the core and say something for each player that was noticeable enough. I think Vincent Trocheck returning to the lineup was enough said for that conversation. Alexis Lafreniere is frustrating because you see that goal 24 months ago against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, that was hang my balls, fuck you goal, right? Like that was, I'm a number 1 overall pick. I got the puck on my stick. It's in the back of the net. And I think that's why fans are rightfully so irate, because you see a ceiling like that where he can drive play. He's skating pucks in on zone entries. He's fighting JG Pageau. He's dropping the gloves in a 6-2 win just to fight a guy. You're going to hit me like that? I'm going to fight you. We haven't seen any of this. We haven't seen engagement at all. So I really like that you pinpointed that on the bench, behavior, body language, foot speed, checking. His first shift, I think Blake Nasty, I'm going to give him a shout out. He had a tweet that went viral in the 2022 playoffs where it was ISO on Lafreniere's first shift of the playoffs that year against Pittsburgh. He flies off the bench 3 strides, blows up a defenseman along the boards. We haven't seen this engagement from Lafreniere at all. The points to me are alarming, but that comes second when you're not doing anything else on the ice. So, Steve, you know, I would say 90% of the fan base is probably, I would say 100% of the fan base acknowledges that he's been the biggest disappointed this year, probably the biggest disappointment last year. But I also, there's still a small part of me that believes whether it's in New York or elsewhere, that majors junior dominant player that was this, labeled generational talent, like that has to be in there somewhere. But Steve, I see you. I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
And I want folks to think about this one too, for our lovely listeners. With Alexis Lafreniere, oh man, it just escaped me the moment I saw you wanted to say so. Say what you were going to say. I know it'll come back to me as I tee myself up like that.
I was just going to echo something that you told me the other night. I would love to have a sit down conversation with the scouts from the New York Rangers. I mean, with the record that we've had these last few years, I would love to sit down and just have a chat just to see what their mindset is. I just would love to see how that goes. Just the way that our track record, and you look at other teams, and other teams have been just such more successful than we have. It really just begs the question, is it just the expectation of New York or not? That's just, it's tough. We know the lights are brighter in New York, but to have the track record that we've had in the last few years and not have something, it's tough.
Are you talking prospect wise?
I'm talking prospect wise. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually think the last Gordon draft was really good. That was actually Lafreniere's year, 2020. Jury's been up and down. To me, I feel like Perot was a hit, and they don't have depth drafting. But at the same time, we said this year, maybe I said it last episode, but there was a time, you and I growing up, the top prospects were Ryan Gropp and Sean Day, who was a 3rd rounder. Having Perot and Emery after you are 2 wins away from a Stanley Cup final berth, I think was a good pick. I know Steve Ellis has come on our show and said it's one of his favorite prospects in hockey, EJ Emery, playing for North Dakota right now. So yeah, no, I agree with you though. Especially the European sphere of influence for the Rangers, like Kravtsov, Anderson. Heedle ended up being good, but had an unfortunate end of his tenure in New York. So I agree with you. Now here's my question on Laf.
Sure.
Steve-O. I think that this is a problem the Rangers are going to have to solve. I just don't see, one, that you can get anything palatable for him, and 2, that think about how that would echo in infamy if your return was like a 4th rounder.
Yeah.
Also, who would take that contract? He's earning 7.5 in AAV, although the cap's going up in the summer. But that was supposed to be this is a good deal if it ends up increasing in value. They're also paying him 2.5 or 3 in bonuses. He as an individual is making $10 million this year.
Yeah. If your question is whether to trade him or not, of course I would trade him in a heartbeat. The problem is,
what do you get? What do you get?
I agree with you. The problem is you cannot, because A, nobody wants him, and B, you're gonna get a 4th rounder. You can't do that. You just
can't do that.
That's such a bad and a desperate look. It's such a stain on the franchise. You look at first,
which we already had the Trouba and Kreider thing last year.
Exactly, but this one would be 1,000 times worse because this is a player that you drafted first, number 1 overall as your pick. You just can't have that. So he's going to stay on this team, let alone that contract. No one's taking on that contract.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're just so uncompetitive when we find ourselves in like such a bad area, you trade away other assets and you include Loft in there as well. That is something that that's the only scenario that I see us engaging in. But at that point, the
Yeah.
returns got to be really good, man. And it's the other assets would be the intriguing piece of that trade that would get us something good in return. That's where we're at, and it's sad, but I mean, it's such a tough position to be in. But at this point, you just have to accept it and hope that he shows. I thought you mentioned a great point. If he could do what he did against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals, why the hell can you not do that on a Tuesday night against the Vancouver Canucks? I mean,
Or
it's
like
just
twice a month. Like we're not asking for
twice
this
a
like
month.
every night, like we're seeing with Celebrini now, and Bedard now, and McDavid now, and Makar now, and Sidney Crosby at 40 years old now. Like we're asking for this, like, dude, like once a month, give us a highlight, give us something, right, Steve?
Yeah. How about this? Because you made a great point on that. I want to piggyback off of that. Because with other play like JT Panarin, Trocheck, I could ask you to give me, a standout moment that you remember in the last month, and you could give me an easy answer for any one of those players within 10 seconds. You have 10
Okay,
seconds.
fair.
You have 10 seconds to tell me a Lafreniere moment recently that stood out. That was like, wow. And you're not going to because he hasn't had any. So you have to think that long. He's just not been that good. He's not been good on the ice. And again, you made another great point on this. We're beating a dead horse on this, but he's just not
No,
noticeable on the
man,
ice.
this deserves fucking an hour of our time, dude. Like I've
He's
had enough.
he's just not good on the ice, man. It's just
I
when
love
he's
that,
on the
Steve-O,
ice, get
man.
him
I love
off.
you. He's not good on the ice. He's not Steve-O. Steve-O, you got away with words, my man. You know what? I
How
think
else would you
what
describe it?
no, I agree. You know what, Steve? I think what is frustrating too, and I think what optically doesn't look good for Alexis Lafreniere is that Macklin Celebrini has zero. He's playing with John Klingberg in overtime against Pittsburgh the other night, and they win on his primary assist. He leads the NHL in primary assists, or I think he's first or second with 25. He's pushing for Team Canada. Lafreniere was on the rough draft of like the extra skaters for the friggin' Four Nations last year, Team Canada. He wouldn't sniff a roster spot this year. Now, that's a separate conversation, kind of tangent, but at the same time, I think what I'm saying is Matthew Schaefer steps into the NHL at 18 years old. He had limited time in Major Junior last season with an injury. He comes in for the Islanders, and it's like they're a different team. And they're not. They still have Bo Horvat, who I think is, for the most part, over the hill. He's finishing really well. Matt Barzal, excuse me, man, I'm so hyped up, man. I'm just like the blood's boiling. Um, Point being, there are players like that have altered franchises that are first overall picks and whatnot that don't even have the support Lafreniere has. This guy has 4 established scorers, 2 of which have scored 100 points in their career, 191 points, and he's been on this team. And not only that, he plays with the 120 point score in the season to help them win the President's Trophy. The center he plays with is like a 60, 70 point center in Vincent Trocheck. Like he's got all of the support in the world. He now is getting power play time. He is now in the top 6. He is now paid. Like at this point, every box that was the Lafreniere isn't getting crowd was saying. I think, man, it's funny. It's like the way the map for the election swing in America. It's like everyone that was the Alexis Lafreniere doesn't get all the help he needs, and he's not on power play one, and all the things that he wasn't getting rather than earning. Now it's like the other way. Now it's like, oh, well, he's got all this and he's still doing the same thing. But again, Steve, you know what drives me crazy? We've seen it from him. We've seen it from Lafreniere.
Yep. And we have every right to be mad because if you're not going to get it from him, who are you getting it from at this point? I mean, it's just
He's the X factor.
he really is the X factor, and it's not even like he's playing on a line with nobody. I mean, when you throw him on a line with Panarin, I mean, how could you be this quiet? Panarin, it gets everybody going around him. I mean, it's just makes you want to rip your hair out. Now, enough. I like the point where we're at this episode right now. Enough is enough. Enough of this shit. I gotta ask you, like, straight up. I think you have enough exhibits this season and enough to base this off of to answer my question. 6-1, coming off of a back-to-back, up at this point in the season. Is that truly and honestly in your mind? Is that just, you know what, it's a recovery thing? You know, a lot of young guys on this team, you know, just not recovering well. Or is it just simply that we don't have enough power in this lineup? And I agree. I think you
I
can
love
answer
you,
this,
man.
but without
All
JT
right.
and Fox, there's just very minimal. We don't have enough to overcome that. That's my take. So I want to ask you: is it recovering or is it not firepower in this lineup?
You know what I think it is? I think this team is built in a regular 82 game season without the Olympic break. I think this team's successful because they can grind you down. You're going to struggle to score. We also have uh Iggy Piggy, as Stan Fischler called him. Like, we have Igor back there, and it's an off night. We have Jonathan Quick back there, who at 39 is looking like he's 24. Um, this New York Rangers team, I think the scoring would still be an issue. Maybe not. I think this New York Rangers team was built to defend better, to grind you down. They lead the league in hits. In this way, the schedule is right now, when you have a 24-hour turnaround, you that identity, I don't think is efficient. I think what teams win on is some pond hockey games. I think when you're in that second night of a back to back, that's the game that you hope Panarin has the 2 goals and just steals the 2 points on the road. Because you say, all right, we're tired. We're going to still try and outcheck the team. We're going to still try and outskate the team. But by that third period, we're not going to have the juice we had in the first period 24 hours ago. That's where you need your game breakers. And that, to me, is the problem. I don't know if I'm articulating what's in my brain well enough to answer that question. I think this team is built to grind you down. I think this team is built to win a few 1-goal, 2-goal games, and see where their stars can take them, which has been nowhere this year above middle of the road 500. But I think this team this year, Steve, the reason they're 6-1 in those back-to-backs is because when you're tired, when they're chugging legs and the Charlie horses and the roll me out in between periods trainer and I need water, I need a Gatorade, when all that hits the fan and it's the third, who are you looking down at the bench at? You're like, my God, can Panarin just wire one home so we can pack up and get the hell home? That is not happening this year. And I think that's the problem. I think this team is built to grind you out. I think this team is, I said it a little while ago, and this caught a lot of flack. I think this team's built similar to like that 2012 team, that kind of buy-in, that kind of style. But they're not on the second night of those back-to-backs getting the first goal in the first period. They're not getting the spark. They're not getting Lafreniere walking through the team and finishing. They're getting him walking through the team, but not finishing. And that's the problem.
Yeah, Lafreniere, prove us wrong.
Who's
Prove us
on?
wrong. I would love for you to prove us wrong. Calendar flips 2026. Come at us. Show us what you got. But I don't see that being the case. There's one.
Steve-O, I'm going to toss it back to you,
Sure,
man.
sure.
Why do you think they're losing the second night of back-to-backs?
I'm going to echo the same thing you said, and with a little sprinkle of Steve-O in there. We don't have this. We don't have the firepower. We're just not depth. We don't have that depth, to overcome when our stars are non-existent, and our stars are, aside from Panarin, our stars are quiet in a lot of these games. Take that last night for example. Mika and Trocheck didn't even have a shot on goal at all in the entire game. Given the fact that a lot of players didn't have shots on goal, but that's the staple of your core. And when your core is not even getting opportunities, how the hell are you going to score a goal? I mean, one shot on 3 power plays, we just don't have the firepower. Now, when you have a healthy Adam Fox in there, and when you have a healthy JT Miller in there, then yeah, I agree with what you just said. You know, we are a team that is built to grind you out. We can really battle and win those 1-goal games, and that's how we tire you out. And we win. That's how we win our games. The problem now is you have no Fox, you have no JT Miller. It's too much of a hole for us to overcome, and this is going to be a really telling 2 weeks. You know, we're gonna move on in a second, talk about what's to come. But for
Yeah.
me, it's just there's something missing. You know, and I think I've always felt that our third and fourth lines have just been a little weak. Now, Noah Laba has been an an answer to a prayer. I mean, he has been awesome. Where the hell has he come from? I mean, where are they cooking these guys up in the lab and finding these guys? But outside of that, I mean, it's just lackluster, you know, when you don't get that production from your top 6 and your core. I mean, this team is going to go nowhere. I mean, this is the same as long as this core remains on this team. The same sentiment will be said, and we're only going to go as far as they take us. And they're just so bipolar. You know, it's hot one night, 7-3 against Tampa one night, and 1-0 for the next 5 nights. So it's just you're not going to go anywhere with that. But on that note, you know, with that being said, you know, this is a big week coming up. You got the Capitals, and I think if there is no team right now in the NHL. You know, somebody listening wants to come at me. But there's no other team in the NHL right now that needs this 3-day Christmas break more than we do. I mean, come on. We look tired in that Nashville game, and we've played a lot. We've played a lot of back-to-backs, and we've played in the span of like 14 days. We've played like 7 or 8 games. I mean, that's a lot. So we're going to Washington. For some reason, we can't win in Washington. I don't know why that is. You know, the last few seasons, it's felt like we've lost a couple of bad games and a couple of heartbreakers as well. And we're looking to avenge that game, that 1-0 game that they waltzed into Madison Square Garden and beat us 1-0. You know, there's a lot of opponents that have came in MSG and beat us 1-0, but we're looking to avenge that game. Capitals are coming off of a home-to-home weekend sweep of the Detroit Red Wings. But prior to that, they've not been playing their best hockey in the previous 4 games. They've been playing better overall in the past month, and that's kind of jolted them back into the standings. But they have had a huge defensive problems, and they've been surrendering a lot of goals. So again, that is something where I think Washington is probably the most competent team that we've played in the last 2 weeks. But again, it's just building off of those inconsistencies. And really just taking advantage. You know, we want to play to that strength, and the problem is it's not translating on paper. So that's something that confuses us, not just me. I'll say me, but it's confusing all of us. So that's something I want to see in this Washington game as we pivot here before the break. What are you looking at? Because this is a big one. Not only is this a big one, but we got to play Washington again. You know, within the next week, play them twice. So what do you got for us on that note?
Let's see if the kids can take a hold here, because let's be frank, Chris Drury did not build a team that could withstand long-term injuries. And unfortunately, we said that in the beginning of the year, and I think we fooled ourselves thinking, well, maybe they can make it unscathed. JT Miller goes down, Adam Fox goes down. This team, the organization does not have the depth to compete for, I think, what was desired to at least make the playoffs this year and lose 2 core players. But that gives Brett Berard an opportunity, who was called up today. I thought Brennan Othman showed the most gusto of any player on the Rangers when he gets hit from behind, doesn't even check, and just drops the gloves against Delorier. He got beat. I loved his post-game comments. Point being, let's see some of that flair. Let's see some of that bite. I really liked when Brett Berard came up last year. He scored a few goals. He was an energizer. And no, not a conditioned NHL pro, But let's see if they can take the reins here. Let's see if Gabe Perreault, now he's helped the team win in the games he's played in. He has a few assists now under his belt. He scored against St. Louis, his first NHL goal. Let's see if he steps up and can continue to just steadily grow, look better night in and night out. And I think at this point, with the injury to Miller and now a lineup that's really fleshed out by young guys, I think that's all we can ask for. And I know there's no more victories in the NHL, but let's see if some confidence boosts, some guys stepping into roles and actually seizing them or really doing a good job of them. Let's see if that can translate into some magic. Let's see if that can translate into what we saw in Buffalo, like that bump. Jack Hughes returning to the lineup. Let's see if it can give the team that lift. We're talking 3 steps ahead, 3 strides ahead. We know it's always 2 strides forward, 3 back with this team. But Steve, what are you looking for upcoming? I mean, obviously we're going to have plenty to talk about before the Winter Classic and everything with, the week that's ahead. But Christmas time, man, what's the gift you're looking for under the tree?
I'm looking for wins at this point. I don't care how you get them. I want wins, and I think you get 2 things that can help lead us to that. Number one, I don't know how much I can say this, but you gotta get some in front of the net presence going. I mean, Will Cooley is like, boy, do we miss Kreider on that point. Like that's like the 30th time I'm saying this of this season, but I mean, we really do miss him on that point.
The only greasy goal I think they've scored was the Brodzinski one too late against Nashville.
Yeah, and you saw, and that was what, a second opportunity right there, and that's my second point. Get in front of net presence and get opportunities. When you get a body in front of the net, you're going to get second, third, maybe even fourth opportunities, and that's something that this team, we don't get a lot of second or third opportunities with this team. And those are 2 key things that I think, they sound very simple on paper. But we just don't execute. We don't even try. How about that point? We're just out of position to get second and third opportunities. So establishing Will Cooley is the perfect guy to throw in front of the net and cause trouble, maybe even on the power play. I think the problem with his line is his line doesn't get a lot of opportunities in front of the net where he's in position, so, and Will Cooley's a guy that is going to be in the corner fighting for the puck, scraping out. That's the type of player he is. He doesn't really get a lot of opportunities. And when he has been in front of the net, you kind of see those rumblings and flashbacks of Chris Kreider being in front of the net. So that's something that we need that is so important. Not only is establishing a guy in front of the net important on that note, it's also important to get the goalie, to challenge them a little bit, to get them on the edge of their seat. We see a lot of these goalies, and we've played a lot of mid-tier goalies. I don't need to sit here and ramble off the list, but we've had a lot of mid goalies shut us out and make us look like, prime Martin Brodeur, and I think that goes to the point that we're not challenging them a lot, not challenge them, challenging them from left and right, not challenging them with opportunities, not challenging them with elevating the puck. Just a lot of simple slot shots where all the goalie has to do is be in position. And I think that is something that we need to change and break that mold. So I think 2 things I'm looking for is having an in-front net presence and just getting second, third opportunities. I don't care who's shooting the puck or if it's a bad shot. Just get that attempt to throw the goalie out of rhythm, because that's something that has plagued us all season long. Because of Crimmy and the holidays, don't know if we'll be back on air before the first game coming out of the break, so that'll be the Islanders game. It is interesting to note that, did you know that NHL teams can't practice or travel during the Christmas break? Did you know that?
I did.
So I think that when you're the road team coming out of that little break, that could be very tough, unless you're playing an opponent that is literally less than 20 miles away. So I do think that helps. I think that helps us in that regard. Finally, a little lucky in that point. But, I think we know it's going to be a hard-fought battle against the Islanders. Both teams kind of want revenge. We want revenge after that disgusting 5-0 game. less than a month ago, and not to mention we embarrassed them. What was that? 9-2, 10-2, whatever that game was last year at UBS. So we
That
really
helped them get the Schaefer pick.
we really spanked them with that one. But I think that's all the motivation you need for both teams coming into that game. So that one's going to be a close one. And the Islanders, we want to beat the Islanders. Come on, on paper, we really should be a better team than they are. The standings would tell you vastly a tale of two different stories. So that's all I got on this episode. I'll leave you with the closing remarks.
Steve-O, I love it, man. Follow us on Puck Talk CS, all platforms. We've been dishing out content, especially here on YouTube. Yeah, Steve. Whoa, this is so uncharacteristic of you to hand it off to me. I was gonna say Saquon. He had a mid fantasy year. Who's a baller? Oh, Jonathan Taylor, man. Pass me the
Yeah,
rock.
how about that?
I know you lost this week in fantasy, so
I
or
did.
last
I'm
week.
done.
Last week I wasn't even in it. But no, man, like you said, Christmas time, the best time of the year. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy the holidays, and we'll definitely be on, I think, after Christmas for sure to chop up New York Rangers hockey. And this was a little long one. We really let ourselves go, Steve.
Hour on the dot. Happy holidays, everyone, and always remember, it's just the luck of the puck.